This talk is sponsored by the Foundation for Economic Education.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes. All right, so I'm going to start with a question. If you know the answer to this, just holler out the answer, okay? What color is a yield sign?
Yellow.
Red. Who said red? All right, I need you to come to... No, I'm just joking. You said yellow, but it's not yellow. It's red and white. Remember, it's an inverted triangle. Got the vision in your mind? Anybody disagree with me still? No. Okay, it is not yellow. Why did you say yellow? Have you ever seen a yellow yield sign? You have. Where'd you see it? In your mind. Yeah, your mind's playing tricks on you, honey. All right, a few delusional folks in the room. Just joking. All right, there are no yellow yield signs. What's that have to do with anything? Here's the thing. Our minds are pretty incredible things, right? They enable us to build these incredible relationships between things like yield and caution and yellow. And we can make these very quick judgments. When somebody asks you what color is a yield sign, you can say yellow. The problem is that sometimes your mind lies to you. Agreed? All right. She's still convinced that her mind is telling her the truth. Sometimes our mind lies to us. And so I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about the company I'm a part of, the Morningstar Company. And the reason I ask this question about yield signs and talk to you about our minds lying to us is I think we've all been fooled into believing that the way organizations are structured, the organizations we encounter and come in contact with on a day-to-day basis, the way they're structured is simply the way things are. That is just reality. It is the way things must be. And in fact, I went to business school, and I'll tell you, they don't talk to you in business school about how organizations should be structured as opposed to how they actually are structured. And the problem is, I think maybe our minds have been lying to us for a very long time about organizations. And I'm going to explain to you why by telling you a little bit about our company, okay? First of all, I think it's important to realize that all enterprises, all organizations, are built on principles that flow out of a fundamental philosophy about human beings and social institutions, okay? Whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, how many of you are part of an organization of some sort? All right, a few unemployed in the room. So the organization you're a part of, whether the people who built and designed that organization acknowledged it or not, they built it using some rules that came out of some philosophies about human beings and how they should interact with each other. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our philosophy and how that influences our principles. In fact, there's one fundamental principle I think is very foundational for the way Morningstar as a company is built. And I should probably tell you a little bit about us. I'm with the Morningstar Company. We're a vertically integrated ag business company based in California. We're privately owned, about $750 million in revenue. We're the largest processor of tomatoes in the world. It's a really boring subject, right, tomatoes? Somebody's like, get some computer people up here or something interesting, tomatoes. But I think that makes what we've been working to do all that much more impactful. Because we are a very kind of blue chip, blue collar sort of company. Really boring, not sexy. You ever go around to high school and ask people what you want to do when you grow up? Nobody says work at a tomato factory. That's what we do. It's what I do. But we've built our organization on a kind of a foundational principle that may sound familiar to some in the room that basically says the best social environments are those in which nobody forces you to do anything. Nobody uses force, in fact, and in which everyone lives up to the agreements that they've made, commitments that they've made. So that really influences our philosophy, and I'm going to talk to you about our philosophy, 3 elements to our stated philosophy. Number 1, an organization is not real. Organization is not real. In fact, the only reality are individuals, people. Somebody tweet that, okay? I'll give you a moment. All right. The only reality are... All right. You guys are really dry. The only reality are individuals. Organization is not real. In fact, I'll go so far as say the organization is a human technology. Human technology, what's the purpose of that human technology, the organization? It's to make individuals' lives better, to enable the people that associate with that organization to become happier. Any disagreement about that? All right. So the problem, I think, with many businesses is that many leaders of businesses have given the organization a life of its own. In fact, the organization itself has taken a front seat and the people that associate with that organization, whether it's employees, suppliers, customers, take a back seat. And I really think that begins to break down the enterprise. And so when we bring people into our enterprise, they don't come to work for Morningstar. In fact, we have this concept that when you come to work at Morningstar, you're a service or product supplier to other people within the enterprise. You come as kind of an entrepreneur of sorts to perform services or supply products to other people within the enterprise. And you've got to make a deal with them. You've got to come and you've got to contract with them to sell your services, for lack of a better word. So it's number one, it's an enterprise made up of individuals who are there leveraging the enterprise in order to make their lives better. Number two, we have this idea that total responsibility, which is a principle that is evident in virtually all family systems, as well as most of the kind of social groups you're a part of outside of work. Maybe I should tell you what total responsibility is. But we have this idea that total responsibility, which is the way you live your life at home, is also the way you should live your life at work. Total responsibility. I'm married. I have 3 kids. And I am kind of the go-to-work dad. And my wife is the stay-at-home mom. She's a homemaker. And so if you want to talk about our activities, our day-to-day activities, I'm the guy that goes to work, comes home late at night. My wife gets her kids up, gets them off to school, does all the after-school thing, gets them bathed and fed, and keeps up the house, etc. All right, very traditional sort of American family. Let's imagine when I get home from Voice and Exit tomorrow night, I walk in the door, and my 3 children greet me at the door, and they're crying, still in their pajamas, all dirty and disheveled, and say, "Daddy, we haven't eaten in 2 days, and Mommy didn't take us to baseball." And you've experienced that, haven't you? I'm sorry. Mommy didn't take us to baseball or swimming, and she hasn't fed the dog, and the house is a mess, and she's been sitting on the couch watching Desperate Housewife reruns all weekend long. What do you think I would do? All right, so if I'm a normal person, I'm going to go and I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to get them fed, get them bathed, make sure that everything's taken care of and they're all comfy. Then I'm going to go sit down and have a really hard talk, heart-to-heart with my wife, right? Sort of thing I'm sure all of you would do. But let's imagine if we ran our homes the way we tell people they're supposed to act at work. I would walk in the door at home tomorrow night. My kids would greet me at the door crying, "Daddy, we're hungry," etc., etc., etc. And I would stare at them for a moment, and I'd say, "You know, that really sucks, but that's not my job, so I'm going to bed. I hope you guys get to eat tomorrow." What would you think of me? You wouldn't think very high. Yeah, he has a thumbs up. You're a very disturbed individual. You wouldn't think much of me, and I wouldn't blame you. You shouldn't. That's not the way social institutions are meant to run. The fact of the matter is we have our activities, our job, for lack of a better word, but then we have our responsibility, and those two things are separate. They have to be. The responsibility is the whole thing. It doesn't matter that I'm the guy that goes to work and that's my job. When it's all said and done, if the family fails, it affects me just like it affects my wife, just like it affects my kids. And the truth of the matter is any organization you're part of, it doesn't matter how restrictive the organization is. It doesn't matter if they hand you a sheet of paper that says these 20 things are your job and do this and just that. If that company fails, if the boat goes down, we're all sinking, right? So we have this idea of total responsibility, and we tell people this is the way we want you to act. The problem with that is that freedom and responsibility always have to go hand in hand. You can't ask people to take this idea of total responsibility and embrace it in their behavior unless they have some level of freedom. So when people come into Morningstar, it doesn't matter what their job is, it doesn't matter what it is they're doing, how educated they are, what their previous title was, what their LinkedIn profile says about them. They come into Morningstar, they start with a couple of fundamental things. They've got a mission, and they have the right to acquire resources in order to accomplish that mission. That means they have purchasing power, purchasing authority, and there's no designated purchasing authority based on how long you've been there, how much money you make, or anything else. When you come into Morningstar, you have the right to do what you need to do in order to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Furthermore, you have the right to get involved anywhere you see fit. There are no boundaries, there are no sacred cows, there's nobody that's sacred that you can't go up and talk to. In fact, you have the right to pursue change vis-a-vis any other person in the enterprise, no matter what your deal is. Final element of philosophy that I think is critically important with respect to Morningstar is the idea that people perform at their highest level when they're happy. Any disagreements? And people are happiest when they have control over the things that are important to them. Control is a very, very valuable thing. And I believe it's fundamental in human nature that in order for us to be happy, satisfied, and fulfilled, we have to feel like we're in control of the things that matter to us. So again, when you come into Morningstar, not only do you have this right to purchase and acquire resources and the right to cause change anywhere you see fit, you have the right to craft your own role. When you come into Morningstar, we have this thing we call the CLUE, Colleague Letter of Understanding, and it's effectively your contract between you and your colleagues. Way back at the beginning when I was talking about when you come in, you provide services to other people, not work for the company. Well, when you come in, you go around and you make a deal. You make a contract with other people in the enterprise. Say, this is what I want to do for you. What are the terms of services? Do we have an agreement? The point of that, the long and short of that is we have a lot of people that have really weird roles in Morningstar that don't map to kind of normal roles in other organizations, and that's okay, because generally speaking, they tend to be happy and very, very satisfied with what they're doing because they're doing the sort of things they love. Now, there are a couple of things that we don't have at Morningstar. We don't have designated purchasing authority. Furthermore, nobody can tell you what to do unilaterally. Nobody has the power to force you to do anything. Everything is by contract or by agreement, by commitment. So there's nobody that can tell you what to do and force you to do it. There's no difference in purchasing authority, and everything's by agreement. What is the point of structural hierarchy? There isn't one. So in fact, we have no titles at Morningstar. We have no structural authority at Morningstar. There is no corporate ladder to climb at Morningstar. Incidentally, in fact, if you want to grow within the enterprise, I think it's a better place to grow because you get to grow while doing the things you want to do. You've heard of the Peter Principle? You're not going to get promoted to your point of incompetency. You get to grow and expand your horizon based on the degree to which you want to do that. The kind of sky's the limit. So what does all this mean? What's this have to do with voice and exit? Here's what I believe. I believe that if you come on board at Morningstar and you're successful, it influences you. And I don't know if you got the theme, as I went through a lot of the way we do things at Morningstar, a lot of it is influenced by kind of social principles, right? Social principles that I imagine many in the room kind of espouse and believe and really hold dear. The thing is, I believe that our social institutions like companies, like businesses, actually affect the way people behave. It has an effect on people's social behavior outside of work. Our experience has been that when people come to work at Morningstar, if they're successful, they grasp onto this total responsibility thing and the idea that they are personally responsible for their success or failure. Nobody else is responsible. There's nobody they can pass the buck to. They own it. It's all them. People who are successful grab onto that, hold it very, very dear, and we found that when they leave and go do things in the real world like vote or interact with other folks in a broader social context, they tend to take those beliefs and behaviors with them. This is the major takeaway, and this is the question I'm going to leave with you. The organizations you belong with, raise your hand again if you're part of some sort of organization, whether it be a business, a nonprofit, any sort of environment where a few people, raise your hand and lift it up, where a few people come together towards accomplishing a common purpose. Look around. Virtually everyone is a part of one of those, okay? At least one of those. Now I want you to ask yourself, the principles that my organization is founded on, what does it cause people to embrace at a very, very fundamental level, and does it affect the way they act when they leave work? Does my enterprise foster paternalism and a desire for me to be able to get more? Or does my enterprise foster the idea that success or failure rests squarely on my own shoulders, and I've got responsibility for this entire thing, and if it's going to happen, it's going to be because of me? I believe that our organizations can have a profound effect on the world we live in simply by changing the way the people in our organizations approach the world and approach their social interactions. The single takeaway is I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do with that when you go back to your organizations on Monday? Thank you very much.